Imagine a mother so hungry that she hasn't eaten for days, yet she still smiles and gives the last piece of bread to her child. This is not just a story, it's a reminder of the silent sacrifices around us. Welcome to KindnessBreeze, where every story is a breath of humanity, compassion, and hope. Stay with us till the end, and don't forget to subscribe, because your one click helps us spread kindness across the world. She sat quietly on the broken bench, clutching a torn bag that carried all she owned, yet it felt empty, just like her stomach. Hunger had been her companion for days, but tonight it screamed louder than ever. Still, she pressed her hand against her belly, forcing herself to remain strong. Beside her, her little boy tugged at her sleeve, his innocent eyes shining with trust. He didn't ask much, only a piece of bread, unaware that his mother hadn't eaten in days. In her hand was a single piece of bread she had begged for earlier. It was small, hard, and barely enough for one person, but for her, it was a treasure. She looked at the bread, then at her child, and a battle began in her heart. Every instinct of survival told her to take a bite, to silence the burning emptiness tearing her from inside. But her eyes fell on her son's tiny face, the cracks on his lips, the way his small hands clutched his stomach, and in that moment, her hunger no longer mattered. She broke the bread slowly, her hands shaking, and placed the larger half into her child's hands. He looked up with joy, as if she had given him a feast fit for kings. His little smile was her strength. She pretended to chew an invisible piece, nodding at him, whispering, "Eat, my love, I have already eaten." Her son believed her, too young to understand sacrifice. He ate happily, crumbs falling on his lap, and between bites he giggled, offering her some of his share. Her heart ached at the sight. She wanted to say yes, but she shook her head gently, "I'm full." She turned her face away so he wouldn't see her eyes filling with tears. That night, as her boy's hunger was eased, she sat in silence, her stomach twisting in pain. The cold wind bit her skin, but the warmth of her sacrifice was stronger. Hunger gnawed at her, yet there was a strange peace in her heart, because a mother's greatest meal is not what she eats, but what she gives. In the darkness of the night, she whispered to herself, "As long as he sleeps with a full stomach, I can bear my hunger." Her lips trembled, her body weak, but her soul was strong. She was starving, yes, but her child was fed. And that, for her, was enough. The little boy chewed the dry piece of bread with the joy of someone tasting a royal feast. To him, food was just food, he didn't measure its worth, he didn't know about hunger's cruelty. He simply trusted his mother's words when she said, "I have already eaten." In his innocent world, mothers never go hungry. Mothers are strong, mothers are full, mothers are always there. As he finished his bite, he giggled and looked up at her with crumbs stuck to his lips. "Mama, you eat too," he said, breaking off a small piece and holding it out with his tiny fingers. His hand was shaking, but his heart was pure. She looked at him, her eyes softening, fighting back tears that threatened to spill. How could she take even that little piece from him? She shook her head gently, pretending she was satisfied. "I told you, baby, I already ate," she whispered, brushing his hair back with trembling fingers. The child's innocent smile widened, and he believed her without a shadow of doubt. Because in his world, a mother's word was unbreakable truth. The boy laughed softly, swinging his legs, humming a tune only children hum when their bellies feel lighter. He leaned against her shoulder, completely unaware that her own stomach was twisting in pain. He didn't notice the way she clenched her hands to hide her weakness. He couldn't see how she swallowed hard, not food but tears, every time hunger clawed at her insides. For him, life was still magical. He pointed at the sky, where stars flickered through the winter clouds, and said, "Look, Mama, they're winking at us." His innocent joy melted her suffering for a moment. She smiled, nodding as if she too saw the stars celebrating his little meal. The child had no idea that his mother's hands shook not from the cold, but from hunger. He didn't know that she had walked miles earlier, searching for food, begging silently with her eyes in crowded markets. He didn't know that she had chosen humiliation over starvation just so she could place a piece of bread in his hands. To him, his mother was a hero who never tired, never broke, never wept. He thought she was strong enough to conquer hunger and poverty. He didn't realize she was silently breaking, piece by piece, just to keep his smile alive. He laid his head on her lap, sighing in contentment, whispering, "Mama, I'm full now." His eyes closed, sleep wrapping him gently. He fell into dreams of warmth and comfort, while she sat awake, her body weak but her spirit strong. His innocence shielded him from the harshness of reality, and she was grateful for that. She carried his dreams, bore his laughter, and swallowed her pain. Because if his little heart stayed happy, then all her hunger, all her tears, were worth it. The night had grown colder, and the streets were almost empty. The mother sat still on the worn-out bench, holding her child in her arms as he slept, his small breaths warm against her chest. She kept brushing his hair gently, whispering prayers under her breath, while inside her body, hunger gnawed like a merciless beast. Her face showed exhaustion, but she tried to keep her posture upright. She didn't want anyone to see her as weak or broken. For her, dignity mattered more than pity. Yet her trembling hands and hollow cheeks silently told a story of silent suffering. A man walking down the street happened to notice her. He slowed his steps, watching the way she clutched her boy tightly, as if he were her only possession in the world. He saw the boy's peaceful sleep, but also the mother's quiet struggle. Her eyes weren't begging, but her silence was louder than words. Something inside him stirred. He thought of his own family, of the meals waiting on his table, of the warmth he took for granted. Guilt washed over him. How could he enjoy abundance while someone here sat starving in the cold? Without a word, he walked to a nearby shop that was about to close. He bought fresh bread, some warm milk, and a small packet of rice. He carried the bag back carefully, but instead of placing it in her hands directly, which might have felt like charity, a wound to her pride, he set it gently beside her on the bench. The mother looked at him in surprise, her lips parting but no words coming out. She saw the bag, the food, the kindness that asked for nothing in return. The man only gave a soft smile, nodded once, and walked away into the night, leaving her dignity intact. No questions. No pity. Just pure humanity. Her hands trembled as she opened the bag. The smell of warm bread filled the air, and tears immediately filled her eyes. She pressed the food against her chest for a moment before gently waking her son. "Look, baby," she whispered, her voice shaking, "Allah has sent us food." The boy's sleepy eyes widened with joy, and he reached out eagerly. As he ate, the mother finally allowed herself a bite too, the first real food she had tasted in days. Every chew felt like a blessing, every swallow like a prayer answered. And though the man had disappeared into the night, his act left an eternal mark on her heart. She didn't know his name, his story, or where he went, but she knew this: kindness still existed. For the first time in a long time, her tears weren't of sorrow. They were of gratitude. She whispered softly, "May the one who fed us tonight never go hungry." That night, as her son ate the warm bread and drank the milk, his little face glowed with happiness. He laughed between bites, humming softly like only children can. The mother watched him in silence, every smile of his piercing her heart with both pain and joy. For days she had feared that one day, even her strength would not be enough to keep him alive. But now, for the first time in a long while, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. She ate slowly, savoring every bite as though it were sacred. It wasn't just food to her, it was dignity, compassion, and mercy all wrapped into one small bag left by a stranger. Each mouthful washed away the bitterness of humiliation she had tasted in the past, when people had turned away from her pleading eyes. Tears rolled down her face, but they weren't bitter like before. These tears carried gratitude, softness, and light. She looked at her son, who now leaned against her chest with a full belly, slowly drifting back into sleep. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "You will never know hunger tonight, my child." Someone cared. Someone remembered us. The world had felt cruel to her, doors shut in her face, eyes that judged, voices that mocked her poverty. For so long she believed kindness had died, buried under the weight of selfishness. But tonight, one simple act proved her wrong. Humanity wasn't dead. It was alive, hidden in hearts that still listened, still cared. As the wind howled through the dark street, she pulled her son closer, covering him with her shawl. The hunger inside her was finally silenced, but more importantly, the despair in her soul had eased. She had been given not just food, but the strength to keep fighting, to keep believing that tomorrow might be brighter. She lifted her trembling hands to the sky, whispering a prayer that only the heavens could hear. Bless the stranger who gave without asking. Bless every soul who remembers the forgotten. And bless me with the strength to one day give back the way he did. In that silent night, her heart felt lighter. She no longer saw herself as a beggar, but as a mother with dignity, carrying love and prayers as her wealth. The stranger had restored more than her body's strength, he had restored her faith. Her son slept peacefully, and she finally closed her eyes too, resting on that cold bench, but with a warmth inside her that no winter wind could steal away. For tomorrow she knew, there is still kindness in this world. And sometimes, a single act of it is enough to keep a broken soul alive.